Hi, I'm Kara, mom of 3, pediatric sleep expert, certified parenting coach, and founder of Well Rested Mama. Welcome to the Unswaddled podcast. Tune in every other week as we chat about baby and toddler sleep solutions, overcoming parenting challenges, and all things messy motherhood. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Well Rested Mama Unswaddled. Today, we're going to kind of break down quiet time. Okay, I'll explain what it is, when you should do it, why you should do it, and of course, how to do it. Now, the biggest thing is going to be when it comes to quiet time is really understanding what quiet time is. Okay. Now, this is going to be something that comes after naps. So, bigger kiddos, let's say around the age of 3 or older, a lot of people like to argue that 2-year-olds need to do quiet time. And I'm a firm believer that 2-year-olds should still be napping. I will stick to that because a 2-year-old 1000% still needs to nap. So let's just remember that. And you never want to jump to quiet time too soon. Like that is the biggest mistake that people make. And we want to help you avoid that because when you make that transition too soon, everything just goes crazy. And we don't want you to have a 2-year-old who is not napping and now they're fighting bedtime and they're waking up in the middle of the night and everything has completely been destroyed. Everything you've worked so hard for is now gone. So that's why we want to help you understand what quiet time is and how to kind of make that transition. Quiet time is exactly what it sounds like. It is a time for your little one to be quiet, but they are going to be alone. Okay. So we're talking a kiddo that used to be napping, right? Let's say, they were on a 7 to 7 schedule. They nap from 1 to 3, right? Very common time frame for kids that age to be napping. All of a sudden, they're not napping anymore. You're starting to see that they're laying in their bed, they're happy, they're content, they're not fighting you, but they're just not sleeping. Okay. At this age, Caleb was still in his crib, which some kiddos might not be. But he was. So I knew that he was ready for quiet time because, like I said, he would just be in his crib. He didn't fight going into his crib. He, was just like chilling in there, walking back and forth, singing, whatever he could think of, but he wasn't sleeping. And then at the end of that nap time, even when he did not sleep, he came out happy, right? And he was ready to take on the rest of the day. So that's like the top sign that you're kind of, processing, okay, they can handle this. And I know that they can handle this because they haven't napped at all today and they're happy and they're totally fine. And you're making your way to bedtime, no issues, right? So, during that transition, okay, you want to kind of take a step back. You've already identified that they're ready. Now it's kind of like, how do you introduce it? Okay. And my favorite way to introduce it is essentially kind of giving them a little bit of control. And what I mean by that is, they might start to identify that they haven't been sleeping. Okay. And they might say to you, I'm not tired, right? That's fine, right? You're okay. You're not tired. How about you have the option? You can either sleep or you can play with this basket of things that I've prepared for you. Okay. So now all of a sudden you're putting them down for their nap and they have the option to sleep or play quietly. They might still be in a crib like Caleb was. That little bin was in there. There were days that he slept. There were days that he played with the stuff. There were days he did half and half, right? He was playing with the books, looking at everything. Everything in that basket is, think of it as nothing stimulating, right? They're not singing, they're not playing lights, they're not doing anything crazy, but it's something that they can look at, they can play with, a toy, a stuffy, a bunch of books are great. Stuff like that, some of those wooden puzzles I would put in there. Stuff that they can play with, that they can be entertained with, but it's not going to be like, ah, right? Like their brains are just like on overdrive because we are still having that time as like quiet, isolated, recharge time, and we want to set them up for success with that. And by giving them that option of sleep or play, they're taking control of it and they're also not going to fight you because it's their choice, right? You're not saying you have to nap, right? And you're not saying you don't have to nap. It's party time either. So that's going to be where kind of easing into it, giving them that sense of control of the situation, they're going to make the choice that they want to make, which is obviously play with that new exciting basket or bin. However, if they're not quite there yet, they might still fall asleep, and that's okay. You're just kind of exposing them to the idea. You're starting it early so that once they're like 100% ready to take on that quiet time every single day, they'll be ready, right? And they'll know what to do. They'll know what you expect of them. And they will do it for the entire duration of what used to be their nap. And what I mean by that is if their nap is from 1 to 3 and you've already started exposing them to this quiet time transition, their quiet time is going to turn into 1 to 3. And you're setting that boundary, you're creating those guidelines for them so that they know during their quiet time, they're not going in and out of the room. They're not doing all these crazy things. Everything is very structured in the sense that the timing's the same every day, the length is the same every day, and the options that they have to do during that quiet time is the same every day. Now, I will say once you kind of become a pro at it, I have been in situations where we've, introduced something new for quiet time. Like if you've been following along a long time, we have the special closet. So there are some days where something exciting might be presented during that allotted time. However, new stage of all of this, you want to keep it super simple, super consistent so that they know what to expect every day and it's not a free for all because the more freedom that you give them with this, the like you're increasing your chances of it not working. And you want it to work the same time that nap time works because like I said, they need this break in their day. They cannot handle a 12-hour day of full daytime stimulation, TV, activities, inside, outside. Like they cannot handle that. And to be honest, neither can you. So that time that they used to be sleeping, we're not taking it away from them. We're just changing it and kind of giving them something different, but also that has the same effect of that nap that used to take place at that same time. Now, I will say, kind of all of that we just broke down is more so for the person that is starting on time, let's call it. Like you're prepared, you were thinking about it, you knew you wanted to go from nap time to quiet time. So you kind of had that in your back pocket. You knew you wanted to do it and you were going to take charge and kind of teach them how to do that. So let's kind of talk about someone who is like, oh, shoot, I didn't do that. And my kid hasn't been napping for 6 months and they're crazy every afternoon. Like, how in the world am I going to get them to stay in their room for 2 hours midday? Like, people will literally laugh and be like, yeah, good idea, but my kid will never do that. And it's not that your kid will never do it, it's that they've never been expected to do it. They don't know how to do it. They've never had to do it. So, yeah, it would be weird if they were like, sure, mom, I'll sit in my room for 2 hours. Like, I can promise you they're not going to do that. So, you're in a situation where you're kind of like building up to that, right? You have a new goal. You're going to get there. But in order to get there, you kind of have to put some things into place. So, what is that going to look like for you? And this could seem like a very overwhelming task, but I promise you, kids of all ages, to be honest, are always seeking structure. They're seeking routine. They're seeking, like, they want to be told what to do. Even though sometimes we get that pushback, kids crave all of that. Okay. So giving them that, especially if they're kids that go to school, like I promise you, they eat a snack at the same time every day. Like they have routines. Their body will like kind of sync to these internal clocks that we call them, like their schedule. So it's not impossible. It's just a matter of you doing the work, which is where the hard part kind of falls on you. But at the same time, we have to set those expectations. We have to teach them they're not just going to one day wake up and be like, that's a good idea. I'm going to do it. So you're going to start very, very basic. You are going to create a bin of new things. Okay. Because you're throwing them for a loop. You're trying to expose them to a situation where you want them to be in their room for a long period of time. Buying into that and giving them something new, a new activity. It could be something as simple as like new Lego kit. It could be activity book with crayons. Meet them where they're at. Like, what do they like? What draws their attention? Anytime you're in Target, what are they begging for? Again, we're keeping it super low key because we want them like chilling out. But you want to like give them a reason to be like, okay, this is new, but it's exciting because I get to play with X, Y, and Z now. And you're going to use a timer. Like I said, you're going to start small. You might start with 25 minutes, right? And then after 2 days, you might go up to 35 minutes, right? So you're adding a little bit of time, but you're still growing each time to where you're pushing them a little bit farther, but not far enough to where they're going to notice, right? Like if you are a cold turkey, like 2 hours, I can promise you that's going to be a disaster. They're going to lose their mind and they're going to come out the gates hating quiet time. And we don't want that. We want them to welcome quiet time. There is going to always be pushback. Okay. My kids are still like, quiet time. Can I do X, Y, and Z? And they're like trying to negotiate. And there's days that I'm like, yes, you can do quiet time together. You can do this. You can do this instead. However, my kids have been doing quiet time since forever. Okay. I never have like strayed away from that. They went from naps to quiet time. They don't know any different. They're older now, right? Where Carter, he's 10. He might read or, mess with a fishing pole in his room. Like, I don't care what he does. But again, he is in his room for that entire amount of time. Whereas Caleb might nap still. And he's, how old is he? 6. And, he might sleep, he might not. But if he's not sleeping, he's playing with his bins that are under his bed. And he is still in that bin basket mode. He hasn't really graduated to anything super different just because his personality, he is very meticulous and he would be out 100 times asking if it was okay, if he was doing it right, whatever. And like, I don't want to be dealing with that. Right. So that all the kids are different. You have to read their personality, but that's what I mean by meeting them where they're at, starting out to make it exciting, but also set those boundaries. You cannot come out, at this time. And if you have to do a reward chart, do a reward chart. If you need to use the green light that we use for mornings, the one that turns on at 7 a.m. every day and they come out of their room. Good morning. Awesome. Do the same thing for nap time. They have a nap time feature. Set it for 30 minutes. The light turns green, quiet time's over, and you're adding that time until you get to your goal. I would always recommend a minimum of an hour. We personally, I think right now we're at an hour and a half. For the longest time, we were at 2 hours. Okay. Our kids are bigger now, so it's not that big of a deal. But I promise you, if I'm having a day, it is 2 hours because as much as this is for them, it's for me too. And if there's a day that Jeff and I want to float in the pool for 2 hours without kids around us, guess what? Quiet time. Like, and the kids are like, "Ah," but they're used to it. Like, and it's like, I don't care. Goodbye. I will see you at this time. And we sometimes, I'm going to be completely honest. If we're like, you know, sometimes we'll get a lot of pushback because I still to this day, which this is psychotic, but I will still say, like, Blakely will fight me and she's like, I don't do quiet time. I don't. And I'm like, okay, then you can sleep instead. So you could choose to sleep or do quiet time, which is insane because she's 7. But like, homegirl's never going to choose to sleep. So then she welcomes quiet time. She's like, no, 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 I'll do quiet time. Right. And it's like, okay, perfect. I'm glad we agreed on that. So I'm not afraid to use a little bit of, I don't know what you call that, threatening, bribing. See it how you want. And as much as they fight it, and as much as they or I sometimes have to threaten them with the whole that's fine, you can sleep instead. They come out of quiet time so happy. They immediately put on their bathing suits. Our like afternoon starts and it's just such a more enjoyable experience when not only have they taken that time, but I've had that time to like want to hang out with them again. You know what I'm saying? Give it a try. Don't knock it till you try it because there are people, I will tell you, that think this is insane and they think it's such a far-fetched goal, but it's not. You just have to implement it. You have to teach them how to do it. You have to set those boundaries because otherwise it will not work. So you're in charge of bringing this to life in your own home, but I promise you it'll be worth it. You will love it. It'll be the best thing that you ever did. You'll get 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, depending where you are, of your life back every day if you're home with your children or on the weekends if you're not. So Give it a try. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. We have posts on Instagram about this. We have different ideas that we've kind of pinpoint for the bins, just different ideas. Head over there. We have all that information for you. But of course, if you have a specific question, do not hesitate to reach out. You can comment on this video or head over to Instagram and send us a message. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Give this video a like if you found it helpful or share with a friend. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we'll see you next time.